Hello. So we want to pick from where we were. That is yesterday, and we were still on the introduction part. So far, we understood what economics is all about at this point. And now that whenever we are discussing about economics, what goes into our mind is that it is about allocation of scarce resources. And we also went ahead and looked at the some terms that are there in economics. We looked at what economic resources are, what human wants are, scarcity and choice, opportunity cost, and PPC. And we saw what they are. So the next item of discussion, which I said we shall then pick from there when we come today, that was the scope of economics. I think that's what we wrote there. And there we have already covered basically on the in passing on the introduction part. And so when we talk about the scope of economics, we basically talk about the branches of economics. So the branches of economics are basically two, as had been captured in our course outline. That is micro and macro. And so you can briefly say, scope of economics hapo chini, then unaandika as an area of study, comma, as an area of study, comma, economics has two main branches. 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 Semicolon 1, micro economics. And number 2, we have what we call macroeconomics. Remember what I said yesterday is that when we talk about microeconomics, which is microeconomics, and start with the part which is microeconomics. Microeconomics. Janiandikia tarehe huko juu. Tarehe umesahau, leo 19 hapo juu. So microeconomics, it is a study of an individual household and farms. It's the study of the individual household and farms. It's the study of the individual household and farms. The study of individual households and farms. So these are the smallest economic decision-making units. These are the smallest economic decision. These are the smallest economic decision-making units. The smallest economic decision-making units. Full stop. So the major areas under microeconomics includes consumer theory. The major areas under under microeconomics include consumer theory, comma, market structure, comma, theory of the farm, comma, demand analysis, etc. Theory of the farm, comma, demand analysis, etc. You go to the second item is macroeconomics, big, macroeconomics, macroeconomics. And you say, this is the study of a bigger complex system. This is the study of a bigger complex system. Complex system, usually referred to as the economy. 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 Now, remember what we are saying there. We are saying macroeconomics refers to the study of a bigger complex system. Usually referred to as economics. So it means economics. So it means if you are to explain it, you can also explain in another word. You can just say macroeconomics is the study of the economy as a whole, and you are still correct. Correct. Together is the study of the economy as a whole, and you are still correct because you have been told is the study of a complex system, usually referred to as the economy. So it's a study of the economy as a whole, and you are still correct. But when we are studying the smallest economic decision-making units like household and farms, then there we are talking about micro. And those household and farms, they do not operate in a vacuum, in isolation. They are operating in a wider system, and that's why macroeconomics comes basically into consideration. Now you proceed and say, first off, you say individual household and farms do not operate in a vacuum. They do not operate in a vacuum, 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 not operate in a vacuum. But operate in the bigger system. But operate in the bigger system, in bracket economy. But operate in a bigger system, in bracket economy. But operate in a bigger system, in bracket economy. You say, first of all, the major areas under macroeconomics includes, the major areas under macroeconomics include, the major areas under macroeconomics include, one, we have money and banking. Of course, we had seen them in their course outline. Money and banking, comma, international trade, comma, inflation and unemployment, etc. Inflation and unemployment, etc. So those are those. Inflation and unemployment, etc. So basically, now when you're talking about micro and macro, there's no confusion about the two. There's no confusion about the two. Remember, when I was starting, I said that there are three major economic decision-making units: the household, the farms, and the government. Each one of those are striving to actually to maximize on an objective. The household and maximizing on their welfare, the farms are maximizing on their profit, the government is maximizing on the welfare of the people, basically based on the scarce resources at their disposal. So those we had said. So now when you're discussing the smallest economic making unit, that is farms and household, then our focus is on micro. But now when we are talking about discussing the bigger, the whole economy, that complex system, because those are household and farms, they don't operate in a vacuum. So they operate in a bigger picture, a bigger system, that economy, and therefore it is important for us also to study that economy. So that's that. Now below that you say, below those classifications, you say, you underline this, I say the three basic economic questions. The three basic economic questions. The three basic, 1, 2, 3, three basic economic questions. Three basic economic questions. Now, whenever economic is discussed, there are three questions that must always be asked. Because remember, the goods and services that are produced, they need resources. And the resources, we said yesterday, they are scarce. And so these goods and services, they are also destined to the market. So you have to understand, you have to ask yourself, what are the goods, what is to be produced? You have to ask yourself, so you can actually, before you start writing, you must ask yourself these questions. What to produce? So you are going to ask yourself, what to produce. So remember, what is it that you are to produce as a producer? Take into account the resources that you have, and how are you going to produce it? How simply means it's the question about the combination of the inputs, the capital, the labor. How do I combine the capital and labor for us to be able to produce whatever I'm going to produce? And for whom to produce? So whatever you are producing should be destined to the market. So if you produce a product that has no market, then actually you may go into loss as a farm. So the three basic economic questions which are asked by those economic units, they are about economic, they are about resource allocation, what to produce, how to produce it, and for whom to produce. Whom are we producing? If you're producing a product, to whom? What are the customers? Or are there customers for them? For whom are we producing? So that we don't end up producing resources, we don't end up producing goods or services where there are no buyers for the same. If that is the case, then we find ourselves going to severe into losses. So those are the three fundamental economic questions, and they are just about they are just about allocation of resources. You say the questions of choice are essentially the questions of resource allocation. The questions of choice are essentially the questions of resource allocation. That is, people have to decide on how to allocate goods. People have to decide on how to allocate goods and services produced. People have to decide on how to allocate goods and services produced to individuals in society, to the individuals in society. You say, full stop dash, the three fundamental choices to be made are the three fundamental choices. Also, of course, these are choices are what we are referring to as the economic question, the three basic economic questions. The three fundamental choices to be made are, number one, the first item, what to produce. So what are you, number one is what to produce. Number two, how to produce. And number three, whom to produce. Number one, what to produce. Number two, how to produce. And number three, whom to produce. So I can start with one briefly. What to produce is a question. You say, this relates to the goods that should be produced. It relates to the goods that should be produced. This relates to the goods that should be produced. That is, it concerns the composition of the total output. It concerns the composition of total output. So what are we saying? Or what to produce? So we are saying in this economy, these are the resources that we have. What are we going to produce? How many of these products? What are the services? That is what we have to ask ourselves. And those three economic questions, they go hand in hand. Once we have decided this is what we are going to produce, then we must also proceed and actually ask ourselves, how do we produce these goods in a way that it will be cost effective for us? Number two, you say, how to produce. How to produce, number two, how to produce. How? Number two. They said how to produce. You say there, you say, decisions have to be made about the methods to adopt. Decisions have to be made about the methods to adopt. Decisions have to be made about the methods to adopt. About the methods to adopt. Which should be efficient. Which should be efficient. Which should be efficient and cost effective. We should be efficient and cost effective. We should be efficient and cost effective. So as I've said, we have already decided on the first ask area what we are going to produce, and the second method, how are we to produce it? Do we hire machines, tractors to plow for us, or do we hire manual labor, workers to come and do the tilling of the land, for example? So the manner in which we're going to combine the variable production is another question, because it will involve trying to achieve efficiency while you are minimizing the cost of production. Number three, the third question is whom to produce. Whom to produce. Remember, whatever is being produced, they are consumers for it. They are destined for the market. So we must produce items for which we know there is a market existing for the same. Now, whom to produce, say, this will involve how goods and services produced will be distributed. This will involve how goods and services produced, will be distributed, to the consumers, So basically, in a way, it was relative share. So what will go where and so forth. So those are basically the three basic questions in economics that relates to resource allocation. Now, still on the introduction part, I think this is the second last part, because we have the economic system, and then also we have consumer sovereignty as those items in the first part, that is introduction. So the next item, you say economic system, and you align that as well. Economic system. Economic system. Economic system. And you write this. This refers to the way different societies, try to solve the three basic economic questions. The three basic economic questions on resource allocation. The three basic economic questions on resource allocations. Full stop. Say this in return is determined. By the various political and social structure in society. This in return is determined by the various political and social structure in society. full stop dash, you say. Economic systems are usually categorized into three. Economic systems are usually categorized into three. Economic systems are usually categorized into three. The first one, we have what we call free market economy. Free market. Free market economy. Free market economy. Number two is planned economy. Planned economy. And number three is mixed economy. Mixed economy. So if you say free market economic system, you're also correct. If you say planned economic system, you're also correct. If you say mixed economic system, you are also correct. So we are saying that economic system basically relates to the way in which different societies tries to solve the three basic economic equations of resource allocation. How do they solve the question of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce? And because we said those three basic equations in economics are a matter of how do we allocate our resources, because whatever we are producing, their resources are required, and so on and so forth. So the way in which we are solve those questions is a matter that is actually a constant for any given economic system. So the way the societies try to solve those three questions are basically those are what are contained what we are referring to as economic system. So as we have said, we have three economic systems. We have what we call free market economic system. We have what we call planned economic system, which is also referred to as command economic system. And also we have what we call mixed economic system. Now, planned economic free market economic system is basically where the individuals, the government does not participate in that economy. So purely the question of resource allocation is a matter that is left for what we call the price mechanism that operates through the market forces of supply and demand. So it means that in a free market economic system, the government does not operate, and what is to produce and whatever to be produced is a matter that will be decided by what we call the price mechanism. So price mechanism. So this is basically a hidden hand, which basically dictates on resource allocation. So this price mechanism operates through what we call market forces of supply and demand. Supply and demand. So for example, if a price of an item is going up, it is a signal for the producers to shift their resources to producing that product because there are consumers for it. There's a demand for it. So the producers will switch their resources producing this product whose prices are rising, because the rising in price is an indication that there's a demand for that. So they are going to produce that product. They have decided this is the product they are going to produce, and their resources, they will be able to channel towards that production. Alternatively, if the prices of a product are actually decreasing, it is again a signal to the producers to actually switch from producing that product to producing other products. So the decrease in price for a product is an indication that the demand is actually going down. It means that the buyers are actually diminishing, and therefore the producers should find another product whose price may be going up. So we call that price mechanism. It is the secret hand that will be deciding on how to allocate resources in the economy, what to produce, how to produce how to produce them, and for whom to produce. Because again, the question of how to produce, there are machines which refer to capital as labor. So you only pick on the one which is cost effective again, because at the end of the day, even though you want to achieve maximum output, but at minimum cost, and therefore the question of how to produce the same is also key. So you start with the first one, which is called free market economy. The first one is called free market economy. And so I've said it's also referred to as a free market economic system. So this refers to an economic system where the the decisions about the allocation of resources, the decisions about the resource allocation. Just a minute, I've said this refers to an economic system where the decisions about the allocation of resources are made by the individuals, on the basis of prices, generated by the market forces, by the market forces of demand and supply, by the market forces of demand and supply, by the market forces of demand and I've said as this is what I've said in full. This refers to an economic system where the decisions about the allocation of resources are made by the individuals on the basis of prices generated by the market forces of demand and supply. In bracket, you say price mechanism in bracket, price mechanism in bracket, price mechanism. So that's that. The price will tell you, the price of a product will tell you whether to produce it or not. If the price is higher, the suppliers, the producers will be willing to basically to allocate their resources towards the production of that product. When the prices are low, it's an indication of decreased demand, and therefore the suppliers or the producers will be shying away from producing that product. So we are saying that free market economic systems, we are saying that the decisions about resource allocations are made by the individuals on the basis of the prices generated by the market forces of demand and supply, So we shall learn later that there is demand curve and there is supply curve. So there at any given time in the market, there will be demand forces and there will be supply forces, and this is a price. So they will be deciding on the market that is ruling. So it will be telling us on basically how to allocate the resources. So as I've said, the prices are rising. The indication of that the demand probably is actually also going up, and therefore the producers may allocate more of their resources producing of those goods. Now down there, features of a free market economy. Features of a free market economy. Features. So what are the characteristics of such an economy? The first one is ownership of private properties. The first feature is ownership of private property. There you say, individuals have the right to own. Individuals have the right to own, control and dispose of, natural and man-made resources as they consider fit. Individuals have the right to own, control and dispose of natural and man-made resources as they consider fit. Full stop. I repeat. For where? Man-made resources as they consider fit. Or you can also say as they wish. It's also correct. So as they consider fit. Full stop. Conclude by saying private property also provides the same point. Private property also provides the owners with the right to the income, generated by those resources. private property also provides the owners with the right to the income generated by those resources. The right to the right of the income. I've said private property also provide the owners with the rights to the income generated by those resources, e.g. rents, interest, profit, etc. etc. Now, what we are saying, under free market economic system, any individual has the right to own property. You have your piece of land, that's a natural resource. That piece of land, you can sell it. Nobody will prevent you from selling it. You are free to sell it. You could be owning some man-made goods like machines. You are free to dispose them there as you wish. Nobody will actually prevent you from dispose. So you have control over them. You can own them, and you can also dispose them as you wish. You also have the right of income over them. You can even you can actually lease out your machines so that you'll be getting some rentals from the same. You can also be having your rentals. Of course, you can actually be getting some income from them. So in this economic system, there is ownership of private property. So private individuals have the right to own, control, and dispose their property as they wish. Number two, freedom of choice and freedom of choice and enterprise. 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 Freedom of choice. Now, when you talk about freedom of choice, everyone in that economy, you have individuals are free to get into any job of their choice, to actually to exit that job. Farms have the right to join in the industry of their choice, to exit those industry, and so on and so forth. So any investor, any entrepreneur is free to engage in a business of his or her liking, and also is free to exit that. So you have the freedom to make a choice on what you want to do and so forth in that economic system. You can say individuals stroke entrepreneurs. Individuals stroke entrepreneurs are free to buy or hire economic resources, are free to buy or hire economic resources. Individuals and entrepreneurs are free to buy or hire economic resources, comma, organize them for production purposes, 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 and sell the products, and sell the products, and sell the product. I think I've learned, so I'm fast for you. Are you together? I'll let you where? We are okay. It's okay if I'm fast, don't shy away. Just say I'm fast, I'll always repeat. Especially this, remember, there will be no problem in those other topics. Only this topic, after I've dictated this topic, the rest of the topics will be okay. Because we shall just, as I said, how you're going to, I already said how you're going to cover those areas. So tell me, where are you? I've said freedom of choice and enterprise. I say individuals and entrepreneurs are free to buy or hire economic resources, comma, organize them for production purposes, organize them for production purposes, and sell the products in the market of their choice, and sell the product in the market of their choice, and sell the product in the market of their choice. Full stop. Also say the entrepreneurs are free to enter or leave the industry. The entrepreneurs are free to enter or leave the industry. So you are free to enter or exit. Enter or leave or exit. The entrepreneurs are free to enter or leave the industry. So you can also say workers are also free to enter or leave any occupation. Workers are also free to enter or leave any occupation. any occupation, So similarly, consumers are also free to spend their income. Consumers are also free to spend their income the way they wish. You are free to spend your income the way you wish. So if you want to spend all your income on alcohol, nobody will prevent you from doing that the way you wish to spend it. So there's freedom. There's freedom. There's actually freedom of choice. Your choice in this microeconomic system. Number 3, self-interest. Self-interest. Full stop. Say, the motive of economic activity is self-interest. The motive of economic activity in this system, of course, in this system is self-interest, The motive of economic activity in this system is self-interest. That is, each economic unit attempts to do what is best for itself. What's best for itself? What is best for itself? Each economic unit attempts to do what is best for itself. I.e., firms try to maximize on their profits. Firms try to maximize on their profits, consumers tries to maximize on their welfare, etc. So there's what we call self-interest. So which means that each person is trying to maximize on its own interest. Number 3, competition. Number 3 is competition. Is 3 or 4? 4 is competition. You said there are many buyers and sellers in this economic system. There are many buyers and sellers in this economic system. There are many buyers and sellers in this economic system. There are many buyers and sellers in this economic system. Full stop. This implies that no one buyer or seller. This implies that no one buyer or seller can manipulate the market alone. So no one buyer or seller can manipulate the market alone. So because of elements of competition, saying there are many buyers and sellers in this economic system, full stop. This implies that no one buyer or seller can manipulate the market alone. Number 5, reliance on price mechanism. Price mechanism. And remember, we are saying talk about reliance on price mechanism. I said the price mechanism is the major determinant of resource allocation in this economic system. So how to produce it and whom to produce is a matter that's left for the price mechanism determine. So it's that a hidden hand which actually does resource allocation in the economy through the market, the market forces of supply and demand. So proceed and say, the price mechanism is used to allocate resources. It is used to allocate resources. And you say, full stop. Say price mechanism can be defined as it can be defined as price mechanism can be defined. It can be defined. It can be defined as an elaborate system. It can be defined as an elaborate system of communication in which the numerous choices of the consumers, in which the numerous choices of the consumers, in which the numerous choices of the consumers and producers I've said the numerous choices of the consumer producers are aggregated and balanced against each other, balanced against each other through the interaction of demand and supply, 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 which in turn determines the market prices, which in turn determine the market prices, which in turn determine the market price. So last feature is like just say lack of government intervention, lack of government, determine which in turn determine the market prices, market prices. Last feature, lack of government intervention, lack of government intervention. So the last feature of this free market economic system, as we have seen, is lack of government intervention. Now, when you talk about government intervention, usually the government intervenes in the economic system in so many ways. For example, through price controls. So when you say there's lack of government intervention, it means there's no lack of price controls in that economic system. There's lack of taxes because the government may also intervene through taxes. So there's also no taxes. There is also no subsidies. Because it is through taxes, subsidies, and price control that the government may actually intervene in an economic system in order to achieve certain objectives. So we are saying there is also lack of government intervention. So you can say there, this implies that there are no price controls, taxes or subsidies. You know, at times you are just asked a simple question and you are told to explain the ways in which a government may intervene in an economic system, and then you are stuck. It is simply through those price controls, taxation, and subsidies. So those are the ways. So if you are told there is lack of government intervention, you have just to understand that if that is the case, then it means there are no taxes in that economic. Government are not imposing any tax. Government are not providing any subsidies. Government are not imposing any price control on any commodity. It's only through those that the government is able to intervene in an economic system to achieve certain macroeconomic aims. Next, so those are the features. So advantages. So we shall then look at the advantages, the disadvantages of the same. Then we go to the next planned economic system. So a question can come from anything. A question can come from the features of a free market economic system. A question can come from the asking you to explain the advantages or the disadvantages of the same system. So they should be at your fingertips. Now you say advantages of free market economy. Advantages of free market economy. One, you say The first one, flexibility of the market. I would say there's flexibility of the market. There's flexibility of the market. There is flexibility of the market in responding to changes on the demand and supply conditions. There's a flexibility of the market in responding to changes on the market, or changes on the demand. I mean, there is flexibility of the market in responding to changes on the demand and supply conditions. So that is, there's flexibility. So what are we saying? We have already said when the price is going up, more will be supplied. And when the prices are going down, less will be supplied. Again, when the prices is going down, the demand will also be high. So there is also that aspect of flexibility. Number two, there is matching of demand and supply. There's matching. There is matching of demand and supply. There is matching of demand and supply to match. There's matching of demand and supply. And this implies that production takes place. This implies that production takes place in response to demand. Production takes place in response to demand. Production takes place in response to demand. And therefore, there's a balance. And therefore, there's a balance. And therefore, there's a balance between what is produced, and what is required by the consumers. And what is required by the consumers. Between what is produced and what is required by the consumers. Okay, this leads to more efficient allocation of resources. This leads to more efficient allocation of resources. This leads to more efficient allocation of resources. Number next, allocation. Where am I? Just a minute. This leads to more efficient allocation. More efficient allocation of resources. Number next, put it 3 or whatever it is. The next point, there is no wastage of resources in planning. 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 As no planning is required. As no planning is required. As no planning is required. So remember, when we are saying there's no planning is required, remember in the government, there's a central planning authority which is going to plan on what is to be produced and how that is to be done. And that planning authority requires the resources. But in this particular case, the aspect of what is to be produced and how to produce that is a matter that is left to the price mechanism. And so we don't have any planning authority. So it means that the resources that would have been channeled to the planning authority are utilized elsewhere. So we don't waste resources in doing the planning, because here, what will tell us what to produce is basically the price which is generated by the market forces of supply and demand. Number next, there is consumer sovereignty. There is consumer sovereignty. There's consumer sovereignty. We shall discuss that. Of course, that's the next area. It's the last area in the introduction. When we talk about consumer sovereignty, we shall understand the consumer controlling power on what to produce. And this happens through the demand. So when the demand of an item is increasing, is a signal, consumers are actually signaling that such a product is actually to be produced. So the consumer are able to control what is to be produced through their purchasing power. So on that sovereignty, you say, competition gives rise to a wide variety of goods. Competition give rise to a wide variety of goods, and services for sale. A wide variety of goods and services for sale. a wide variety of goods and services for sale. Competition gives rise to a wide variety of goods and services for sale. For sale. For sale. For sale. You say, so we say this implies that the consumer has a wide spectrum. The consumer has a wide spectrum. The consumer has a wide spectrum of goods and services to choose from. The consumer has a wide spectrum of goods and services to choose from. So that's which means you are more sovereign. And of course, at times when we say factors limiting consumer sovereignty, we usually talk about the nature of the economic system. And we say the consumer is more sovereign in a free market economic system as compared to the planned economic system. So because you have more freedom to choose on what to buy. Number next. Number next is a high level of economic growth, 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 because of incentives available for hard work. Because of incentives available for hard work, because of incentive. That's motivation, incentives. Sasa, because of incentives available for hard work, because of incentives available for hard work and high level of skills, all of which are motivated by the profits. All of which are motivated by the profits. So if you work hard, you are going to reap big. And so that will contribute to economic growth. So those are basically the advantages of a free market economic system. Now, if you ask about the advantages, now you have them. Now we go to the disadvantages of free market economy. Disadvantages. So you can talk about limitations and disadvantages, shortcomings. The first is obvious. We talk about income inequality. Income inequality. So you find in the same economic system like ours, other people are so rich, but others are so poor. So the people are not the same. So income inequalities. There you say, the ability of some individuals and firms. The ability of some individuals and firms. The ability of some individuals and firms. The ability of some individuals and firms to acquire excessive market power. To acquire excessive market power. To acquire excessive market power has led to greater inequalities. Has led to greater inequalities in distribution of incomes and just say in the distribution of wealth. Has led to greater inequality in the distribution of wealth. The distribution of wealth. In the distribution of wealth. So you find some people are too rich, some people are too poor because of this particular economic system. Number two. Number two is a monopoly power. Monopoly power. Number two. Say, monopoly arises when there is a single seller and there is no competition. Monopoly arises when there is a single seller and there is no competition. There is a single seller and there is no competition. You say, also given the motive to maximize profit, given the motive to maximize profit, given the motive to maximize profit, comma, Monopoly can exploit consumers. Monopoly can exploit consumers. Monopoly can exploit consumers. They can exploit consumers by setting prices above competitive levels. By setting prices above competitive. By setting prices above competitive levels. By setting prices above competitive levels. So these points actually build on the other one. So if as much as there's competition, but other people will be able to acquire more power, wealthy. So when they are wealthy, that dominance may lead to monopoly. And when it's a monopoly, because there is self-interest, everyone wants to actually to be rich, and therefore, because of that idea of maximizing profit, a monopolist will be able to charge higher prices and exploit the consumers in that process. Number 3. The third item is externalities. 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 Externalities, the third disadvantage. Externalities is written this way. So basically, before we write something, our externalities may be positive and negative. So when you talk about disadvantage, you are talking about negative externalities, which are basically social costs which are borne by the society as a result of the activities of the farms. For example, there's this aspect of pollution. Farms are producing, and in the process of production, they basically do what we call pollution. The pollution may affect the health of the people who are living around the farm, and the cost is actually borne by the society. The people may contract diseases as a result of those pollution. And so these costs are not taken into account by such farms, because the motive of the farms are to maximize their profits, and therefore they do not take any action to control pollution. So the pollution is the one good example of a negative externality which is not taken into account by farms when they are producing, and the cost is eventually falls on the society who contract diseases as a result of the same. So it called that externality, it actually becomes an issue. So you can say there, say this refers to the social cost, refers to the social costs and benefits which are not taken into consideration by farms. The social costs and benefits. Remember, externalities are general. When you talk about the disadvantages, we are more on the negative externalities. So externalities are, say this refers to social costs and benefits which are not taken into consideration by farms when determining the price, when determining the price levels, e.g. pollution by farms in the society, e.g. pollution by farms, e.g. When determining the price levels. How? Well, just proceed and write this fast. E.g. pollution by farms, e.g. pollution by farms in the society, e.g. pollution by farms in the society. Now, that's a negative externality. Remember, when we talk about externality only, the word externality there refers to external costs and benefits, two of them. But when you talk about the disadvantages, we talk about the negative externality. Example is pollution. Now, when they are setting prices, they should lower their prices, take into account the possibility of the society contracting diseases as a result of pollution, and therefore that savings they then be used in actually treating basically taking care of the effect of those pollution. Alternatively, when they are pricing, they should be priced in such a way that they are able to set aside some funds to control the effect of pollution. So this aspect of negative externality resulting from free market economic system. Now, the other one is number 4, instability and unemployment. Instability and unemployment. Instability and unemployment, and unemployment. Now, you know, when I talk about unemployment again, you remember, and again, instability, you have a period of depression, recovery, boom, and so forth. So there is always a circle, and that brings about what we call instability. And again, when we talk about unemployment during depression, few firms are working and operating, and therefore, majority of the workers are actually laid off. It may lead to that because, again, there's no planning beforehand. You say, free market often leads to a phenomena. Free market often leads to a phenomena characterized by trade cycles. 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 It's on the board. Characterized by trade cycle. Trade cycles. That is period of prosperity. That is periods of prosperity, recession, period of prosperity, recession is not that way, recess. Recession, period of prosperity, recession, comma, depression and recovery. Depression and recovery. Full stop. Say during depression, there is high unemployment. There is high unemployment. During depression, there's high unemployment. So remember why there's a high level of unemployment? Simply because firms are not operating and the economy so are not doing well. And because of that, people lose jobs. Number 5, shortage of public goods. Shortage of public goods. Okay, the price mechanism on its own, cannot allocate adequate resources, to the production of public goods, Full stop. Now, what are these public goods? You said there, public goods are those which are characterized. Say, public goods are those which are characterized by non-rivalry. They are characterized by non-rivalry and non-exclusion. Non-rivalry and non-exclusion, e.g. roads, street lights, etc. Can you prevent your friend from using the road? Huh? Can you prevent your friend from using the road? Huh? What about the street lights? That you are the only one who wants to use it. There, you only one other you cannot. Senior, those are public goods. So the price mechanism, the private sector alone cannot allocate enough resources to the production of those goods, even though they are very important. So the private sector alone cannot really allocate most goods to the allocation to the production of those goods. So when you have roads, those are public goods. Street lights, those are public goods. Even the fences, those are public goods. So they are they are also under public goods. So when you are told to define what a public goods is, these are goods which are characterized by non-rivalry and non-exclusion, e.g. roads and street lights. Shall have basically define that. And basically define that. Again, other than the issue of public goods, we also have merit goods. Times also merit goods, they are also not provided here in enough quantity. So merit goods are basically those which are characterized by underconsumption. So usually the government encourages their consumption by what we call subsidies, like health facilities and also education. Those falls under what we call merit goods. They call merit goods. Merit goods. So you can find that at times also merit goods are also underprovided. So merit goods, as I've said, are those which are characterized by underconsumption, but they are socially desirable. And so the government encourages their consumption through provision of subsidies. Examples of merit goods are actually education and health facilities. So those are those as far as this is concerned. So we proceed to number. Hello, where are you going?
Excuse me, I'm rushing somewhere.
Okay, sir, it's okay, it's okay. Okay, sir. So number 2, planned economic system. That was on free market economic system, planned economic system, planned economic system. Planned economic system. Planned economic system. So the planned economic system is the opposite of the free market economic system. So in a free market economic system, we have said there's lack of government intervention. So the ownership of the properties is actually in the hands of the private individuals. So in a private economic system, in a planned economic system, it is there's lack of private ownership of properties. The properties are actually owned by the government, the states. And there is also a lack of price mechanism. So the resource allocation is done by a central planning body or the authority, which is appointed by the government for that purpose. And so because of that, there is no price pre-market, there is no market force of supply and demand determining the price in a planned economic system. So in a planned economic system, there's non-participation of private sector. So the ownership of the resources are purely in the hands of the government. So we say, so this refers to an economic system where the crucial economic resource allocation decisions. This refers to an economic system. This refers to an economic system. This refers to an economic system where the crucial economic resource allocation decisions, the crucial resource allocation decisions are determined by an economic planning body. Economic planning body. Determined by the economic planning body. Economic planning body. Usually appointed by the state. 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 Full stop, you say the body. Full stop, you say the body assumes the role of price mechanism. The body assumes the role. The body assumes the role of price mechanism. The body assumes the role of price mechanism, which operates in a free market economy. 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 So we are saying that in this system, the decisions on resource allocation is a matter that's left to the state, and it's done by what we call the Central Planning Authority, which is appointed by the state. So that body replaces the work of the price mechanism. So the questions on how to allocate resources, what to produce, how to produce, and whom to produce is a matter that is left for that authority to undertake. Down there say, characteristics of planned economic system, just a characteristic of a planned economy. One, you say, the economic resources are owned and controlled by the government. One, you say the economic resources are owned and controlled by the government. They are owned and controlled by the government. Number three, two, existence of reduction targets. Existence of reduction targets. Existence of production targets for the different sectors, of the economy. Existence of production targets for the different sectors, of the economy, Number three, rationing of certain commodities, rationing of certain commodities, when demand exceeds supply, when demand exceeds what is supplied, when demand exceeds what is supplied, when demand exceeds what is supplied, when demand exceeds what is supplied. This is because when demand exceeds what is supplied. So this is because the government has to be involved. This is because the government has to be involved in the distribution of its services. This is because the government has to be involved in the distribution of its services. I think you have seen that probably in the past. You find maize, for example, not enough, or the sugar, the sugar actually is not enough. So supermarkets will be ordered by the government so to issue probably not more than one packet or more than two packets. That is called rationing. So in this system, because the government may not know, there is lack of price mechanism. It means that eventually what is produced may not be enough for the people. So that may lead to shortages, and when there is shortages, because the government wants equality, so they may resort to rationing of products. Next. There is fixing of wages and prices. There is fixing of wages and prices, which are not at the equilibrium rates, 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 which are not at the equilibrium rates. So what are the prices that are being fixed by the government? Because the private sector has no role here. The prices will be fixed by the government. The wages of workers will be determined by the government. And you find that because there is no way in which the demand and supply is going to be determined, whatever they are fixing will always be either above or below the equilibrium. This is the equilibrium demand. This is the supply. So this is the equilibrium. So whatever is fixed, you will find is either above or below. Because there's lack of price mechanism. So, and there are times it is not possible for the Central Planning Authority to gather accurate data to be able to achieve that equilibrium. So usually there is a fixing of wages and prices which are not at equilibrium levels. Next, existence of restricted labor market. Existence of restricted labor market. Existence of restricted. Existence of restricted being. Existence of to restrict. Existence of restricted labor markets, in which existence of restrict prevents labor market. Labor market, in which workers take jobs assigned to them. In which workers take jobs assigned to them. So if you can read, if you are students of history, when we got independence, everything was being controlled by the government, and so when you are from school, from the high school, you just get a letter that this is the course that you're going to do. You had no decision to make of your own. So you are going to do education. These are going to be a doctor. This is going to be a nurse. You are going to the police. You have no decision on what you want to do for your life. So whatever you are going to do is a matter that the government was to decide. So there was restricted. So even if you want to be a doctor, but you have received a letter calling upon you to go and do another course, you have to actually to go there. So there's restriction on the labor market on that in that regard, and so that the workers will only be able to take up jobs which have been assigned to them by the state or the government. Then you go to advantages. Advantages of a planned economy. Advantages of a planned economy. Advantages of planned economy. So I hope we shall be able to clear this. I just want to clear the advantages, then we shall pick from disadvantages, and then we shall take around less than 1 hour to clear this, and then we proceed to the next topic. You see advantages of planning. One, there is more economic stability because of government intervention. There is more economic stability because of government intervention. There is more economic stability because of government intervention. Number two, so you can see the government has interest there. So these things are more stable. The government is set a price. There's no volatility in the pricing. So because of the government involvement, there is a lot of stability in that economy. Number two, it ensures greater equality in the distribution of wealth. It ensures greater equality in the distribution of wealth. Because wealth is publicly owned, because wealth is publicly owned, because wealth is publicly owned, owning, because wealth is publicly owned, and it is distributed equally to the citizens, and it is distributed equally to the citizens. Number three, it makes adequate provision for public goods. It makes adequate provision for public and merit goods. Can you write the two? It makes adequate provision for public and merit goods. Public and merit goods. It makes adequate provision for public and merit goods. Who can remind me what I said? I talked about merit goods. Merit goods in any? Somebody to remind me what I said about merit goods. What did I say about merit goods? Eh? I did not dictate it, but I mentioned what it is. What did I say merit goods is? You know, public goods, you know what it is because you have it there down. Merit goods, okay, you can write merit goods. Merit goods are those which are characterized by under consumption. Say this, kindly say this. Merit goods are those socially desirable goods. They are socially desirable goods which are characterized by under consumption, 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 e.g., education, health, facilities, etc. E.g., education, health, facilities, etc. You say, Konya say, the government encourages the consumption of such goods through subsidies. The government encourages consumption of such goods. The government encourages the consumption of such goods through provision of subsidies. Through provision of subsidies. Through provision of subsidies. Through provision of subsidies. So remember now, if you're told to differentiate between public and merit goods, you should be in a position to clearly distinguish the two. So I've said there's adequate provision for those. Number next, say it ensures that the negative externalities such as pollution are minimized. It ensures that the negative externalities such as pollution are minimized. It ensures that the negative externalities such as pollution are minimized. It ensures that negative externalities such as pollution are minimized by putting restrictions on industries. Last, it reduces monopoly powers. It reduces monopoly powers. As those industries which can easily develop into monopolies, as those industries which can easily develop into monopolies, are converted into parastatals. So I've said it reduces monopoly powers as those industries which can easily develop into monopoly are converted into parastatals. Together? Then down there we have disadvantages of planned economy, and that's where we are going to pick from. I think shall take around 30 minutes or less clearing what is remaining. So what is remaining there is actually disadvantages, and then also we have mixed economic system, and then the consumer sovereignty, and that will mark the end of the introduction part. So as I said, it's a very important area because once you understand the introduction part, then you will be able to enjoy the rest of the economic classes. So unless there's a question, I wish to end at that juncture for today.